Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to your energy guidance for the week of the 24th through to the 30th of August. This is a really interesting week ahead, and I wanted to begin somewhere slightly different today because there is a question that kept coming up for me while I was sitting with the energy of the week. Just because something comes into our awareness, does that automatically make it true? Let that land, because we talk a lot about becoming more self-aware. We do the inner work, we journal, we meditate, we notice our patterns, we become more conscious of our thoughts, our emotions, our triggers, our beliefs. And all of that is incredibly valuable. But I think there is another part of awareness that doesn't get spoken about enough. And you may have heard me mention it in the past, but it's highlighted with the energies of this week, and that's discernment. Because not everything that surfaces from within us is necessarily truth. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's conditioning, sometimes it's a subconscious programming, sometimes it's an old belief. Sometimes it's a story that we have told ourselves over and over, so many times in fact, that it feels true simply because it's familiar. And sometimes, of course, what surfaces really is our intuition. And it's inviting us, it's asking us, it's yelling to us sometimes, hey, we need to look at this. And the question I'm hearing you ask is, so how do you know the difference? And I think that question sits right at the heart of this week's energy. On Friday, the 28th of August, we have a powerful full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, opposite the sun in Virgo. The exact full moon is at 2:18 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And whenever we have this Pisces-Virgo polarity, there is this fascinating conversation between two very different ways of knowing. Pisces is deeply intuitive. It's connected to feelings, spirituality, imagination, compassion, surrender, the subconscious, and everything we sense but can't necessarily explain. And then across the zodiac, we have Virgo. Virgo wants to look at what's actually here. It wants to examine things, to sort, to understand, to discern. And I think we need both, because intuition without discernment can sometimes become projection. We can feel something very strongly and assume that because we feel it strongly, it must be true. But feelings are information. They're not always instructions. And I really want that to land, right? Our feelings are information. They're our inner guidance system. They're there to let us know that something is happening. There's something that we need to pay attention to. And on the other side, if we can trust what can be analyzed, measured, or logically explained, we can disconnect ourselves from this extraordinary intuitive intelligence that we all carry. So perhaps this week isn't asking us to choose between intuition and discernment. Perhaps it's asking us to develop a relationship between them. Intuition shows us where to look. Discernment helps us recognize what we're seeing. And inner authority decides what to do with it. And I really love that. And this is where I want to make the energy really practical. Imagine somebody says something to you this week and you have a really strong emotional response. Immediately, a story might begin. They don't value me. I've done something wrong. Here we go again. This always happens to me. Whatever your particular story happens to be, now, your emotional response is real. We're not saying that's not a value or valid. I'm not suggesting for a moment that we dismiss it. But the story we've attached to the emotion may not be. And there is a little space between two things that we can learn to inhabit. Instead of immediately believing the story, perhaps we can instead become curious. Why did that affect me so deeply? What am I assuming here? What do I actually know? Is this happening now, or has something happening now activated something old? That was a tongue twister. Is something happening now, or has something happening now activated something old? I really love that. And then perhaps the most important question, what is actually true for me? That is discernment, not dismissing ourselves, not second guessing ourselves, and certainly not gaslighting ourselves out of what we're feeling. It's being willing to stay with ourselves long enough to discover what is underneath the first reaction. Now, lunar eclipses are often spoken about as these emotional periods of release. You know, release everything that no longer serves you. And I've said that before. And you know me well enough by now to know that I'm probably going to poke at that a little bit. Because how can we consciously release something if we don't yet understand our relationship with it? Sometimes awareness needs to come before release. Sometimes we need to see something, to sit with it, to understand it, maybe even discover why it was there in the first place. And then we decide what we want to do with it. And the reason I say that is because we are multidimensional, but we're also layered. We can surface level release what no longer serves us, because they're things that you are able to identify and recognize. So this is going a little bit deeper, especially with the energies around this week. So rather than approaching Friday's eclipse, full moon, thinking, right, what do I need to get rid of? Maybe ask, what am I finally able to see? Because this eclipse isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a much longer Virgo Pisces eclipse story that began back in September 2024 and continues into early 2027. So you might even cast your mind back. Who were you towards the end of 2024? What was happening in your life? What were you questioning, and what were you learning about yourself? What were you tolerating then that you wouldn't tolerate now? It's so interesting to look back at what you were afraid of, what mattered enormously then perhaps doesn't carry the same weight today. And we often don't realize consciously or acknowledge consciously our growth, our expansion, or even the inner change or the outer change that has taken place, because it does happen or feels like it happens so gradually. And please don't use those questions either as another opportunity to judge your past self. Your past self knew what they knew. They had the awareness they had, and they made choices from that place. We all do. There is a teaching I've been exploring that feels really relevant here. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that were once completely authentic. And those of you who know me well will have experienced multiple versions of who I am. Whether that's a look, whether that's a feeling, whether that's a practice, whether that's a teaching. But what I love is that they are all aligned to me in those moments. Right? So you're allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that were once completely authentic. We can sometimes look back and think, how could I possibly have believed that? Or why did I stay? Why did I choose that? Why didn't I know? And they too are questions in my own personal life and experience and journey that I've asked myself. And the reason is because you didn't. You know now, right? You know now, but you didn't know then. And changing doesn't necessarily mean the previous version of you was false. Sometimes it simply means you continued living, you experienced more, you learnt more, you became more aware, your understanding changed, and therefore your choices can change also. You know, and we're forever evolving. We gain deeper insights, we might take on a new learning, you may explore your intuition more. We all get to a point, we really are like snakes. We shed our skin. Something serves us for a specific reason, a moment in time, for your own personal growth, whatever that may be for you. It may be a situation, a person, a belief, and then you reach a moment when that is no longer aligned to you. It no longer serves you. You've outgrown it, and this is the teaching. Like, that is perfectly acceptable. We don't have to stay the same person in the same place, in the same situation, in the same role, whatever it is. There's no contract that's locking you in. There's another really interesting ingredient around this eclipse. Isn't there always? Uranus is strongly involved with both Mercury and the Sun around Friday. And Uranus or Uranus, wherever you are in the world, is associated astrologically with awakening. And that would be astrologically. Disruption, liberation, and sudden insight. So there may be some unexpected aha moments this week. Perhaps a conversation gives you a completely different perspective. Maybe you hear something that suddenly joins a few dots. Maybe something you've been wrestling with simply becomes clearer, or perhaps it's much quieter than that. You might suddenly realize, oh, I don't actually believe that anymore. And I love those moments because sometimes we think transformation has to be dramatic, that there is this enormous healing process and 17 journal prompts and a ceremony and perhaps a candle or two. Or, you know, we have this total awakening and epiphany. And, you know, and for some people that can be true. And I love all of these things. But sometimes we've simply outgrown something and consciousness finally catches up. No drama required. And I love the idea of that. And this is what I know to be true. Our soul, the divine intelligence of the all that is, our own growth, it meets us. Divine timing, it meets us exactly where we're at, and we will be given exactly what allows us to have those moments, have those insights, join the dots, have that growth, have that recognition, to awaken, to expand our consciousness, our intuition, just a deeper understanding of who we are. And that, for me, that takes all the pressure off. You know, it takes the pressure off. Okay, I am going to be in the right place at the right time. I'm going to, you know, align or be aligned to receive whatever teaching I need to receive, or to know, to receive the intuition to know what step to take next. It's our human conditioning that overanalyzes and looks for the billboard, looks for the spotlight, you know, shining brightly on exactly whatever it is that I need to know. And intuition is just not that loud. It can be over time when you nurture it like a muscle, you strengthen it, you connect, you acknowledge. I spoke about that last week. Yeah, so much to think about. So with all of that in mind, I want to bring in our goddess guidance for the week. And I'm really curious to see who steps forward today, because we're working with intuition, discernment, truth, conscious choice, and this beautiful invitation to trust what we know while remaining curious about what we think we know. So let's see who wants to step forward and walk with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, the goddess Artemis. Artemis, guardian of the wilderness and protector of the vulnerable, invites you to embrace the wild within. Her unyielding strength guides your journey towards independence and self-reliance. Honor your instincts. I love this. What I'm immediately feeling from her is this, it's what I'm being shown is like, and this feeling of being so in tune with nature, your environment, your intuition, it's like being, and I'm also being shown like being in tune and following your instincts in what next step to take, it's like literally I'm being shown a target. So it's a goal. Where do you see yourself? Yeah, thank you. Where do you see yourself moving forward? What are the dreams, the aspirations, the desires that are within your heart? And we all know what they are, right? Deep down, we actually do know. Yeah. And also what I feel with her as well, because what I'm being shown is literally her. This is the instant visual that I got. She's running through a forest. She's running through the forest. And without missing a beat, she's taking the arrow from her back, the bow is already, before she reaches for the arrow, the bow is already in her hand while still running. And she's taking aim while still running and letting it go. And there's this beautiful sense of continuity, but there's also it's like one breath. You know, she hasn't hesitated. She hasn't faltered. Her gaze is upon the target, or, you know, of whatever that is for her. And all of these steps are taking place within a couple of breaths. And there's no, it looks amazing. Like it's like something you would see in a movie scene. And so there's this resilience, there's trust also, like she has complete and absolute trust that where she's aiming, where she's holding her gaze is where the arrow is going to connect. I love that. And she's also reminding you of your inner resilience, your inner strength. And she's also I love how this is all aligned as well. It's almost like there's a weightlessness in what she's doing in that moment. There's a weightlessness, and the weightlessness is coming from this complete sense of presence. She's fully present in this exact moment. And it's like she's not even having to navigate any lumps and bumps in the pathway. Like, it's like every step lands perfectly and safely for her in this complete moment of alignment. And also the reminder that you don't have to, what she's saying is like, you don't have to do everything alone. You're not doing this alone. You don't have to do it alone, because, you know, she's fully aware of her entire environment. She's connected to nature. She's connected to her intuition. She's connected to what her target is, whether it's a goal, a destination. And also too, what she's saying to me is, you know, there's the misconception that independence and strength and even self-reliance can be misguided. The misconception and the misguidance is that means that you have to do it all alone, that you have to carry it all alone, that you have to try and figure it out all on your own. And so she's also reminding you of the beautiful connections and how important it is to be connected to yourself, to nature, to your intuition, to where your destination. Yeah, I love this. And also too, like giving you permission to say, you know what, I can't actually do this by myself. I need some help. And there's no weakness in that. There's no failure in that. That in itself, thank you. She's saying that in itself is an incredible strength to have and to nurture and nourish as well. I love it. And I think this is also such an important piece of guidance for us in this week, because she isn't here to give us another answer. She's here to support us, guide us, and help us to deepen the question, to support and guide you in navigating whatever blocks in your pathway forward that arise in front of you that may be holding you back. So I hope that serves you well. I do want to leave you with something really simple this week. It is whenever something surfaces, an emotion, a thought, a memory, a fear, a realization, or an intuitive nudge. before you decide what it means, I invite you to create a little space around it and ask, is this true? Then go a little deeper. Is this true now? Can you feel the difference? Like right now in this moment? Because those are two very different questions and two very different energies. Something may once have been true for you. A relationship may have once fitted. An identity may once have felt completely authentic. A belief may have once protected you. A way of moving through the world may have once been exactly what you needed. And perhaps it simply isn't anymore. There is absolutely no failure in that. There is only evolution. So much to think about in this week ahead. So as we move out of eclipse energy over the weekend and the moon moves from Pisces into Aries, and I love that symbolically, because after all of this feeling and noticing and discerning, eventually life asks, okay, knowing what you know now, how do you want to live? Oh, it's a question that so many of us don't ask ourselves or forget to ask ourselves. But you don't have to answer immediately. You don't have to turn every realization into action. You don't have to make every uncomfortable feeling mean something profound, and you don't need to heal something simply because you've become aware of it. Sometimes the most powerful first act of inner authority is simply allowing ourselves enough space to see clearly. Because not everything that surfaces is truth, and not everything you once believed is still yours. And maybe discernment is the space between what arises within you and what you consciously choose to carry forward. I truly believe that our heart knows clearly before we consciously know. Our body, our nervous system knows before we consciously know. And I do believe that there is a period between becoming consciously aware of something, making a decision or a choice or a change, and then allowing that time and that space for integration or embodiment to embody that change. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. That in itself is stressful. You know, I know even myself that I have witnessed and observed, I've even experienced it myself, resisting, acknowledging, resisted making a change. Or really, yeah, I think it's more resisted acknowledging, because then it becomes about what will need to happen in order to make that change. So I'm all for gradual integration. It doesn't have to be a rush. So give yourself that permission that it's safe and possible for you to acknowledge something within you. Yeah? I love that. Thank you so much for being here with me. If something in today's guidance spoke to you, I'd love to hear what you're sitting with in the comments below. And whatever this week's energy brings to you or wherever it takes you, remember that you don't need to have all of the answers. So stay curious, stay connected to yourself, and trust that clarity has its own timing. It's that simple. As always, please be kind and gentle with yourself. Namaste, blessed be, and I'll see you again next week.